Today we're going to start section 1 of chapter 3, talking about parallel lines and transversal. So just getting some background information with this word transversal will be very helpful, even in the coming section. So a transversal is a line that intersects two or more lines in a plane at different points. So if you notice over here, line T would be the transversal of our figure. Notice that it intersects two lines at different points. All right, so that's going to be helpful. The next three concepts is also going to be very helpful in identifying different types of lines. So parallel lines are coplanar lines that do not intersect, so they will never intersect. So notice this little symbol right here is going to be our parallel sign. And I remember that because those two L's in parallel help us know that the two lines in the notation. If you notice over here, these two little arrow symbols, kind of like our congruent symbols with lines, that's going to say that that one is parallel to that line. And then let's say if we have two arrows on a line, the two arrows match parallel to the other two arrows. All right. Next is skew, which might be maybe a new word for you. You might have heard it with I'm skewing the truth a little bit, but skew lines are lines that do not intersect and are not coplanar. So most of the time, if they don't intersect, they might be parallel or skew, and if they're not coplanar, that means that they are not parallel. So look for things that are not parallel and not perpendicular. And the next thing, parallel planes. Parallel planes are planes that do not intersect. And we talked about that a little bit. Notice that plane A and plane B will never intersect in our picture, so they would be parallel. Skew lines might look at line L. They are not coplanar. So L and M are on different planes, and they will never intersect. So that can be an understanding of skew. So let's do some practice with this. So we're going to identify parallel and skew relationships. So name all segments parallel to BC. So remember, they will never intersect, but are coplanar. So if I have BC, one other one might be FG, coplanar. EH, even though there isn't necessarily a physical plane there because it looks like it's diagonal across the cube, remember, through any three non-collinear points, C, H, maybe, and B, can be a plane. So that is why EH would also be parallel, and then DA. All right, what about skew to EH? Let me pick a color that we haven't used. EH. Let's find EH. EH is right here. Skew to EH. So remember, it's not parallel, so none of those, and it's not perpendicular. All right, so maybe we could say AB. So notice that AB is going in a different direction, but is on a different plane than EH. Another one may be BG. Again, notice it's not going in the same direction, and it is not on the same plane. DC is also one, and you might think, well, it kind of touches. Well, it is on a different plane. That EH is on the back side, so DC would be one, and CF would also be one. Notice that EF, right here, intersects that line at point E, so that's why EF would not be a line. All right, and last, let's name a plane parallel to ABG. So ABG. So we're looking at this bottom plane right here. So if you see a dice or a cube, the plane parallel, so it'll never intersect. Notice if that's the bottom of the cube, then I want the top of the cube. So plane DEF. I could also call it DCF. Anything DEFC. How about DEFC? All right, go ahead and stop this video and try your next 3 checkpoints or 2 checkpoints. Here are your answers. All right, next is our transversal, looking at one line is intersecting at least 2 lines to create some angles. So we're going to look at angle relationships. The first one is if I have a transversal, I have interior angles that lie in between 2 lines. So my interior angles lie inside 2 lines cut by a transversal. So looking at this picture, interior will be anything inside of our 2 lines, not necessarily by the transversal line, but the 2 lines that are intersected by it. Exterior just means they're lying on the outside of our 2 angles. So anything up here, angles 1, 2, 8, and 7 would be exterior. All right, getting a little bit more specific, I'm going to erase that. Consecutive interior angles. Consecutive means back to back. And remember, they're on the same side of the transversal line. So angles 4 would be consecutive to angle 5. That's a pair. All of these are pairs. And then I would also say angle 3, interior right here, interior, and 6. Again, a pair. All right, what about alternate? Alternate means I think of flip-flop or the next one. Alternate interior angles are non-adjacent interior angles that lie on the opposite side of our transversal. So let's look at some of those. We can have 3 and 5. So they're on the interior again, and they are on the opposite side of the transversal. We also have 4 and 6. So notice we're crossing that transversal line to find alternate interior angles. All right, what about alternate exterior? Exterior means, remember, outside. So they're non-adjacent and they lie on opposite sides of the transversal. So I can say 1, I'm going to cross the line because I'm on opposite sides, and 7. And my other pair might be 2 and 8. So those are alternate exterior. So we have consecutive, we have alternate interior, alternate exterior, and our last one is going to be corresponding angles. So corresponding angles lie on the same side of the transversal and on the same side of our line. So I need 1 interior, 1 exterior, and they are in the same position. They are on the same position. So a corresponding angle might be angle 1. I'm lying on the same side of line Q. So that would be line or angle 5. I would also be able to say corresponding angles is 2 and 6. 8 is exterior, so its interior would correspond with 4, and then 3 and 7. So again, just getting used to the placements of our angles. So let's try some. Classify the relationships between the given angles in alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding, and consecutive interior. So angle 2 and angle 6. So I have 1 on the interior and 1 on the exterior, and they look like they're in the same positioning, so I'm going to call these corresponding angles. All right, next 1 and 7. Okay, they're both on the outside, so I need the word exterior, and they cross that transversal line, so I would call them alternate exterior angles. All right, what about 3 and 8? Okay, they're both on the inside of those lines, so I need the word interior. And they lie on the same side of the transversal. So remember, same side uses consecutive. And last, 3 and 5. 3 and 5, they're both on the interior, so I need the interior. And they cross that transversal line, so I need alternate interior angles. Remember, when you use the word alternate, you're crossing the transversal. And consecutive just means on the same side. All right, go ahead and stop and try checkpoint number 3, A, B, C, and D. Here are your answer keys. And last one. The driveway at a bus station are shown. Identify the transversal connecting angle 1, there's angle 1, and angle 2. Then classify the relationship between the angles. So notice my transversal, remember, is one line that crosses 2 lines at 2 different points. So the transversal line would be line B right here, my transversal line that makes my 2 angles. And those 2 angles are, well, one's exterior and one is interior. So I'm going to say those are corresponding. All right, what about the next one? The driveway at the bus station are shown. What do we know about angles 2 and 3? Angle 2 and 3. What is our transversal? All right, so remember, transversal is a line that connects or cuts 2 different lines at 2 different points, and my angles have to touch that transversal line. So again, it's going to be line B. And my angles are both on the interior, so I crisscross that transversal line, so I'm going to be alternate interior. All right, go ahead and try your last 2 checkpoints. And here are your answers. All right, hope this information helped, and I'll see you next time.